Hi everybody, it's me, Corrie T, and in this video I wanted to talk about my personal journey with self-love and the evolution and things that have changed and the ways that I've evolved, and actually predominantly that has been through my relationships. So I think lots of you will be able to relate to this, and we're going to get to where I am today because I'm still on this journey. I will always be on this journey, and maybe in a year's time I will have another update to tell you about my journey of self-love and what's happened in 2024 that's helped me grow and learn and fall deeper in love with myself. But for now, I'm going to tell you about the massive changes that have happened with my sense of self-awareness and my nervous system and my sense of self-love and sense of self. Lots of senses. Because I have grown so much, and I know that I have, and there are things along the way that helped that to happen. So hopefully you really enjoy this video and you can relate to it, and maybe you're similar to me, or if not, maybe there's something that you can take from my story. So before I get into this video, I just wanted to let you know two things. There are still some spaces on my Conscious Creators Masters Academy, which is starting in a couple of weeks. I'm so excited about it. It's for anyone who wants a container for a period of time, 3 months, to really kickstart the year ahead and actually the rest of your life, with nervous system regulation, lots of guest speakers. It is an academy of real professionals in the mental health and wellness industry who come in and give us different exercises, different things to think about, and it's a safe container for us to grow and learn and share what we're going through, for you to have relationships, friendships, get co-regulation with other people who are going through similar things, and create and manifest the things that we want from a regulated space. And it's a really beautiful period of time to really devote to yourself to do that. So if you would like to do that, if you'd like to know anything more about it, I'd love to have you on the course. There are a few spaces left. Send me a message via the website or an email or a direct message, and we could book in a 30-minute call. And in other news, I'm doing a one-off manifesting session, which is a special nervous system manifesting session, which is really going to be using the nervous system language to help you make sense of manifestation from a real grounded place, from a place of safety within the body, which is actually where we're most aligned to ourselves. So when our nervous system feels regulated, we feel most like us. We feel most authentic and most relaxed when we feel relaxed in our body and our nervous system. So we're really going to be using a lot of the nervous system language to bring into this manifesting session, and from there we're going to create magic. We're going to think about the year ahead. We're going to manifest. We're going to do this together. We're going to share. We're going to manifest with each other, for each other. It's going to be a really beautiful session, which is this Sunday, the 7th of January. It's only £25. So if you'd like to come, you can book a place on the website, and I'd love to see you there as well. Okay, so back to self-love. So there's a few things that have really helped me to grow and to deepen my self-awareness when it comes to how and where I wasn't loving myself. Because there were parts of me that I've always loved and appreciated, but there were parts of me that were hiding, that I wasn't loving, that I was rejecting, and I was really pushing those parts of myself away. I was pushing a part of myself away that was anxious and scared. I didn't want to be anxious. I didn't want to be scared. Why am I like this? What's wrong with me? I had this absolute narrative in my head that was like, there's something wrong with me. And that started really young. That started, I think, as a result of not having the validation and acceptance that I needed when I was very young. And that wasn't because anyone did anything wrong. It was just that I think that I went through a scary time where we moved city and my mum and dad broke up, and I think I needed more, are you okay? I see you. This must be scary for you. I'm here for you. Is there anything that I can do to make you feel safer? I needed more of that when I was younger, and I was anxious and uncomfortable, but I wasn't aware of and didn't know how to express it and didn't feel safe to express it when I was younger. So I think when I was a teenager, that erupted into this, what was diagnosed as an anxiety disorder. And actually I think it was just lots of stored trauma from my childhood that hadn't been understood or held in a safe space for me to express what I was feeling. I just didn't have the language to be able to know what I needed when I was younger. So I was very anxious, very focused on my health. I felt a lot of safety with my grandpa because he was a doctor. And whenever I was ill, everybody would make me feel very loved. So it's almost like I wanted to be ill. So I was looking for ways to get this attention from my family, and it looked like hypochondria, but actually it was just a real cry for love and acceptance. And so I'd be obsessed with illnesses when I was a teenager, so obsessed with what's wrong with me, have I got this illness, that illness. It was awful. I was so anxious. I was going to the doctor all the time, and they put me on medication very young, and it calmed me down, but it didn't solve the problem. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have medication if you have medication, because obviously medication is a great thing and can be an amazing thing for lots of people. But for me, I look back at that and think, why did they put me on medication when I was so young? It seems strange to me now. What I know I needed was someone and a place to talk to, and someone that I could talk to that was safe and was really holding the space for me. I did have a few people like that in my life, but my mind was so chaotic and there was so much stored trauma in me that it was all just coming out in this, what looked like an anxiety disorder. But what was contradictory to it at the time was that I also was on stage performing, and I looked really confident. And I was really confident, but the thing is that I was getting a lot of validation and acceptance from being on stage. I was, when I was singing, performing and performing my songs that I was writing from such a young age, I was getting all of this love and acceptance, and I was getting all of this, oh my God, you're amazing. And obviously that made me feel like I was okay for a while, but it was external validation, and that's obviously, I needed that to encourage in some way my songwriting from a young age, and that really did fuel that passion for me. But I can see why celebrities get addicted to it, because it's so addictive. I used to feel safer on stage than I did off stage, which is really strange, but I felt like when everyone was looking at me and I had everybody's attention, my nervous system went, I'm okay. People are looking at me, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm important. And you can see why celebrities get so addicted to it, but you can also see why many celebrities have a big crash, because actually they've been outsourcing their sense of self-love and sense of self through this external validation, and then they have a period of time where they go, I'm not happy, there's something wrong, I've got the whole world, everybody loves me. This is what I felt like everybody's saying all this nice stuff to me, and I'm really grateful, but I don't feel any better. And I was also, at this time especially, it started when I was a teenager. I was obsessed with boys. I was always the one who wanted or had a boyfriend. My first boyfriend, when I was like 13 or 14, I was so heartbroken when he broke up with me. And he broke up with me, I think, because I had a big spot on my nose. And that sounds horrible, but I that's what I thought. That's what I thought at the time. I think he broke up with me because of that big spot on my nose. And I was devastated. I wouldn't leave my room. I wouldn't go anywhere. That is when the obsession with getting love from a relationship began, I think. And I was just so hurt. And for a year and a half, I obsessed about him, even though he gave me nothing. In fact, him and his friends started bullying me when I was I think I was in year 8. I was about 14, and I was bullied for a year, but I was obsessed with this person. My self-worth was really low, and I had no idea about any of this. So it just went on for ages. So you can see how this began for me. I was just outsourcing my sense of self-love and wanted this high of having the love from a boy, basically. And it went on and on and on for years, and it just moved from person to person to person to person. And then Johnny came along. I mean, you know the story about me and Johnny. He was another one of many who'd been before, where I'd been obsessed with him, but this was different. It was like a soul thing. There was something deeper about it that I hadn't experienced before. And actually, when we first met, I felt a real deep sense of acceptance with him that made me feel like myself. I felt like myself, and I thought it was because of him. I thought that I felt better because I was with him. But actually, with him, I just let myself be myself. I let myself be free. I liked myself. I was enjoying my humour, and I was enjoying the things that we were doing, and I was enjoying laughing and making him laugh, and And, you know, I was in a good place in my life at the time. I was doing lots of music, I was doing lots of things for myself, had a lot of friends, and I was living in a place that I felt really safe in, and all of these things were sort of combined together. I liked myself at that time when we met, and I thought it was because of him, because I hadn't understood self-love at the time. So, you know, that then made me think, it plummeted me into a lack of self-love, because I thought that when he went away, I'd lost myself. I'd lost my ability to feel like how good I felt. And I didn't see that for years and years later. And our relationship over years was just me thinking that if he was with me, that I would feel better and that I could love myself more. And we had this one breakup that was awful, that was so bad. And I was so devastated. But what was weird about it was that when we broke up, I had this sort of really big sense of relief. Like, I didn't have to keep fighting anymore. I didn't have to keep proving myself. I didn't have to make it work anymore. And I realised how much energy I had been expelling in that relationship to get him to love me and to get him to stay. And when he left, I, in a weird way, felt so relieved. At the same time as feeling incredibly sad, and my inner child was deeply hurt by what had happened. It really confirmed to me my belief that I wasn't good enough and all of these things. So I went into a deep sort of pit of despair, which was kind of like the rock bottom from where I climbed out of, and began a real much deeper journey of self-love and self-awareness. And that's where, you know, I started learning about manifestation, which then led to the self-love stuff. Like, many of you went on this journey too and are on it. And, you know, I looked about manifestation. How can I get him to love me? How can I get him back? How can I make him see me, want me, and all of these things? And, you know, it took being hurt many times, I think, to realise that, oh my God, this isn't working. This doesn't work. I feel rubbish. I don't feel good at all. He's not giving me what I want, and I need to find another way. And that's where the self-love and self-concept stuff came in, which really did make sense. It made sense for me to think, no, I am worthy. I am good enough. So it started with, you know, just saying these things to myself and not feeling it, because I didn't feel it. It felt weird. It felt uncomfortable to be saying I'm worthy, I'm good enough. And it didn't click. It wasn't clicking with me. But what started to make it click was the embodied actions that I would do that would match those words. So if I'm saying I'm worthy and I'm good enough, then I needed to set boundaries and I needed to know what I wanted in a relationship. So that started to happen. When I started to actually embody these words, then I started to actually think, oh, I actually feel like a slightly different person. I feel more connected to myself, actually not a different person, but more myself. And it wasn't reliant on him. It's very scary to let that go. It can be really scary to set boundaries at first, because you worry that they'll leave. You worry that if you say no, then they'll just go away. But as you deepen your sense of self-love and you deepen your knowledge of, you know, who you are and what you really know you deserve from a really grounded place, it actually feels less scary. It doesn't feel as worrying that that's a possibility, because the thing is that the more that you feel a sense of love and acceptance within yourself, the less likely you think these scary things are. Your nervous system calms down whenever you feel love and acceptance of yourself. You know, the fear reduces, so these thoughts that are associated with the fear that you had no longer exist in the same way. So those fears kind of just go away and you're not as worried about it, and therefore you see less of that sort of thing in your reality. It's really interesting. So I became less scared of losing him. I became less scared of us not being together. And I started to accept that there was a possibility that we wouldn't be, but that I would be okay. And this was like a really big change. This was like when I was in Italy, this started to happen. I started to feel like I'm going to be okay no matter what. And it was such a big shift, but I wasn't really quite there yet. And then what happened was me and Johnny actually got together. Long story short, there's videos on my channel if you want to watch the whole story, but we got together again after, you know, nearly a year apart or something, in different countries, different people, lots of stuff came in between us. And we got together and I was so anxious. I realised that I was still so dependent, so codependent on him, and I still hadn't grounded myself in myself. I hadn't really embodied having a relationship and having myself. It was always one or the other. I either lost myself completely and threw myself into the relationship, or I was single and completely okay and completely fine, completely able to do anything really, a bit triggered by criticism. Actually, I'm a very sensitive person by nature, I think. And when I was younger and had very, very low self-esteem, any criticism that anyone would give me would really, really trigger me. And Johnny became like the perfect match for my sort of deepest insecurities in our relationship. You know, he really did trigger parts of me that were absolutely not healed. And so this is where a lot of my self-worth came from, but it had to come from going through a real kind of despair, even in the relationship. So again, you know, it's like the celebrity analogy. I got the relationship, I got someone telling me they love me, I got all these things, but I didn't feel okay. I didn't feel right. I felt anxious, felt confused. I thought, what if I don't love him then? Because I feel rubbish, even though he's saying all of these things. What's going on? I got the thing that I finally wanted, and then I felt really confused. And it was because of I didn't know how to love myself, really, truly. I'd started the process, I'd set boundaries, I'd raised my standards, right? But I hadn't really known that I would be okay, not properly, not really experienced being okay without this person and without their validation and acceptance. And so I was very, very confused for a long time in our relationship. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I went down, I had what I think is relationship OCD. So I had obsessive thinking, obsessive thoughts about our relationship, constantly analysing it, over-analysing it, trying to work out what was wrong, desperate for it to be resolved, for these uncomfortable feelings to be resolved so that I could feel peace in our relationship. And it's just been a massive, massive long journey to get to a place where I'm really feeling so much more myself and so much better and so much more connected to myself. And I've had to take actual action to do that. So for me, it's been like really finding safety. It's been so much nervous system work. So when I found someone who helped me with my nervous system stuff, I was like mind blown really, but not at first because I didn't really understand it. But now I look at it and think that was it. That was the thing. That was the thing that really helped me to get back to myself, really knowing and understanding how to regulate my nervous system, finding safety everywhere, making my environment and the people around me, really choosing and selecting my environments and the things that were in it, the people that were in it, and actually making my world safer for me by actively choosing those things, and learning nervous system regulation techniques, breathing stuff, movement, and all of these things, being in nature, stuff that really calmed me down and helped me to release a lot of trauma, really made me feel like, oh, there I am. Oh, and guess what? I am in a relationship as well. So I have myself and a relationship, and it's like the pattern started to change. The pattern started to adjust. Like, no longer am I able to just be at my best when I'm on my own, but I'm also, you know, at my best in a relationship too. That's totally new. And it came from really almost pulling away from the relationship, really pulling back, because I put so much of myself into the relationship that I had to pull back a bit, which was a turbulent time obviously for me and Johnny, because, you know, it was just very confusing. I didn't really know what was going on. He didn't really know what was going on, but we were still together, still talking every day. There was a period of 2 weeks actually in our relationship that we're in now where I said, I can't talk to you for 2 weeks. We're still together, but I can't talk to you. He was like, okay. He stayed with me through that. It was really interesting because before I never would have dared to do that, but it was so important for me at the time. And then, you know, gradually over time, rebuilding that sense of self within the relationship. And that has meant, you know, seeing friends, coming back to England, travelling, when we were travelling all over the place, was chaotic for me. And my nervous system was like, no, I need to be grounded and need to be in one place. So that was one choice that I made, needed to be back at home for a period of time at least. And then I needed to have more friends around me. I needed to create my world so that my nervous system would go, oh, okay, we're safe now. And that's what I did. And that is literally what I did. And I had a lot of help, a lot of support. And now I have these things that I can share with other people that have helped me so much and are helping other people, and it's amazing. So, you know, this is what we do in the Conscious Creators Masters Academy, and it is, you know, also what we'll be doing in the manifesting session as well. So it's totally changed my life, nervous system regulation work, and making active embodied choices that are scary at first, but the reason why I was able to do them was because not doing them got me so low and so depressed that I had to do something. I had to do something else. I had to do something that meant risking losing someone or something. I had to do that. You know, I had to start actively saying, I don't need or want your validation, to not just Johnny, but other people in my life. I had to actively start saying those things to myself and exposing myself to not having it, you know, so that I could really give it to myself. And another thing that I would always do is seek reassurance and talk to people. So co-regulation has always been a big thing for me and has always helped me a lot, but I think I was doing it to an extreme. So I was always like obsessively wanting reassurance and ringing people up, and I've had to really be conscious of, I need to just sit with this for a bit, sit with this discomfort and really love myself through it. And that has helped me so much. That's helped my confidence a lot. So I'd really recommend, if you're a reassurance seeker like me, give yourself a bit of time at least to go, can I sit with this discomfort for a bit longer today than I did before? And then maybe I can ring someone later on. But for now, can I just sit with it for a bit? And that will grow your capacity to sit with and show yourself that you are okay just with you. All of these things that have happened, you know, my relationship with my dad had a massive healing period because I was so wanting his acceptance and his approval, and he was also seeing my potential, so giving me lots of advice, which made me feel like I just wasn't good enough ever for him. And that just went on for a really long time. I had to set a lot of boundaries with him. I thought I always had daddy issues, basically, which I did. But then I also realised I had mummy issues too later on. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not blaming my mum or my dad or anything. You know, it's just an acknowledgement of like what happened in my life and how I perceived it. My responsibility, even as a child, unconsciously, was that I perceived it the way that I did. My dad loves me more than anything, and so does my mum, but their methods and their communication was perceived by me in a way that I didn't understand, I couldn't relate to. I am by nature a really sensitive person, and I needed something different. And so, you know, my relationship with my dad just went through a massive breakdown to breakthrough. We nearly lost our connection completely. There was a lot of boundary setting, and then it came together in a really beautiful way. And a similar thing with my mum as well. I realised where I'd kind of got my anxious avoidant attachment style from many different people and reasons, but things that really needed acknowledgement and love and acceptance for the feelings that were coming up within me. I sat with a lot of my feelings. I cried more than you could ever know. I've cried so much in the last few years, actually, that has released so much stuff. I've given myself permission to do it, given myself permission to grow, to release, to feel, and that has helped me beyond recognition, really. Also sought out people who held the space for me. So I really sought out people who would just be like, that makes sense. Of course you feel like that. Yeah, that makes sense. That was such a beautiful thing to hear. And so I sought out people that made it okay for me to feel whatever I was feeling. And it really helped me to get that co-regulation and that mirror reflection that actually everything I was feeling was always right. And then over time taught myself that to be true through my own, you know, thoughts and words and feelings. So I stopped seeking validation for my songwriting and everything that I was doing, and I started doing things for myself instead, and stopped checking, is this okay? What do you think about this? Do you think I should send this message? Do you think I should do this? Do you think I should do that? Wanting that reassurance from everyone, I started to just really ask myself. And then in a relationship, just made it absolutely a priority that I would reconnect back to myself. That has been the biggest priority through our relationship, and it's gone through such a storm. I mean, you know, you think the storm was not being together. The storm was actually being together and going through all the stuff that came up. All the stuff that came up in our connection has blown me away. It has been crazy. And it's been like so revolutionary as well. And now we are in a much better place of acceptance, but mostly because of the acceptance I feel within myself. I really can't stress it enough. It's been, you know, incredibly profound, and I'm still on this journey. I'm still going through it. And yeah, I love sharing with you the lessons and the things that I've learned along the way. So yeah, that's it really. I'm sure I've missed things. I'm sure I've missed so many things, but that's okay because I've got lots of videos to make on this channel. So if I missed anything, I'll put it in another video. But if you have any questions, or if you would like to work with me, I've got my Conscious Creators Masters Academy, which is happening starting in a couple of weeks. There's a few places left. If you'd like to book a 30-minute call with me to find out if this is right for you, we're going to dive into self-love. We're going to embody a lot of the things that I've talked about in this video, and we're really going to create a big shift this year in our sense of self-love, which will impact all of our relationships and have a massive ripple effect on our whole life. And if you'd like to come along to the manifesting session, it's only £25, so you can find the link in the description below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.